Here today, good afternoon actually. No, this is the first presentation after lunch, always not good. But I'll try to engage you as much as possible. So let me start with a great quote by Steve Jobs on tools. He definitely believed that productivity is not based on the only skill of people, but good skilled people needs good tools so that they can increase their productivity and come up with best outcomes. So I definitely believe that because always people definitely are important, but people with good tools make great changes in the companies. So here, my presentation is going to talk about three things. As a DST, Data Services and Technology, which is a very new team at Synovian, what we do, how we do, and also in that sense, I'll present what tools as a DST we use, and what tools we have developed using raw programming languages for the functional teams. So it's kind of tools building tools. So one of the greatest asset what we have at the DST is a very small team, obviously, but three different people coming from uh, three different levels of organization. So our skill sets are we are have extensive knowledge on the clinical research because Sam and myself have been in the industry from more than 25 years combined, definitely. And Bowen is a great fresh graduate, comes with a great energy and excitement to the company. He brings in a lot of ideas which are from school, and then we have a good exposure to other critical functional areas because of company we are. We have no boundaries or SOPs that restrict us from working with other functional areas in a fluid manner. So we are very much exposed to other functional teams from in different teams of drug development. Then we definitely have very good hands-on experience with SAS, R, Python, some of the out-of-the-box AWS tools, web scripting, and Spotfire. And at various levels, some of us are really great at NLPs and machine learnings and AI, and we are learning some of them. So this is our primary tool sets we use as a people. And this is something we want to show you is our computing environment. These are the some of the tools we use. Some of them we use every day. Some of them we use depending on the project we are working. But this is more of a landscape of our workbench what we use at DST in Synovian. The next one is what we do. We This is basically DST 6 pillars what we do currently. So we believe and we trust that our data is our asset, and we do a lot of activities in harnessing our asset as a data as an asset and also increasing our asset by collecting new data sources. They can be clinical, they can be real world, they can be non-clinical, operational, whatever the data is, because the more the data is, the better we can solve problems. Then we use that data and we support decision making for other functional teams based on the data what we have. It how there are I will give you one of the examples in my next tools how we support that. Then we also spend some time in evaluating new technologies and tools. In the process, these three can go in hand because we might need new tools to harness new data sets, or maybe we need new tools to parse the data and present them in a more better way for making a better decision. And one of the better ways to present the data is visuals, because data as such doesn't really talk much, but when we harness and parse it and curate it, visuals will make a lot of sense, and they send strong messages to the teams, and that way they can make decisions or they can help teams to react or proact depending on the situation. Then with historical data what we already have, we can also identify if there is any need of business operation improvement. That is also one of the requirement, one of the tools we develop. I'll explain you when I'm doing better presentation of the tools later. And this is one of the ongoing projects also, which we are trying to build a collaboration global environment where all the data science activities can be done globally across our subsidiaries in one common environment, and data can be shared across all subsidiaries in a very easy and convenient way. So next is, this is our basic landing page. So I'm just introducing how DST exposes their tools to different organizations at Synovian. So this is, we call it as DST's repo landing page, where you can see some of the tools, and some of them here are in a beta versions, or some of them are alpha versions, or some of them are version ones which needs more. additional features, but this is how we try to present our tools or expose our tools to our products as a tools to different teams. Sorry. Uh, then how do we do these? So one thing, this how do we do it is design thinking. So design thinking is one of the very a good approach for data science, because when data scientist is working, he must have an understand the empathize the problem, because he might be working with different teams which he's not exposed to or which he has very limited knowledge on. So he has to be integral part of the team for some time to empathize the problem. When you understand and empathize the problem, then as a data scientist or a technology person who's trying to solve the problem, they can define and generate ideas to solve that problem. And any phase, we will go back to the other way where we think, oh, this idea is not working. Then we go back to change the definition, or we go back to the actual problem itself and understand it more. So this way, what it helps is at any stage of the development till you implement, you always have a scope to fail fast and reinvent the problem again and reproduce a solution, a different solution or a better solution. So this is what we do it, because this way it is more agile, more smaller in the sense you can divide the problem in more smaller chunks which can be solved fast, and also you involve your business owner with as an integral part of the solution. So they are not giving you the problem and after 6 months they are watching something which they are not aware of it. By this they are growing with the solution. They understand what exactly being generated for them to solve the problem. And this is one of the processes and what tools we regularly use are here. I'm not going to go over all the tools, but these are basic tools we use to generate some of our products. Then these are the four use cases I'm going to go over. One of them is this is basically business improvement solution. Also, basically finding the gaps, also finding the efficiencies, how we can improve the process. So what we identified was when we took operational data from 7 studies which recently closed or fairly recently closed at Sunovion, we identified that the edit checks which are programmed into Rave are not being efficiently programmed. As we can see, almost average 70% of edit checks are firing less than 10 times. So again, that might be there might be n different reasons for happening that, but those reasons cannot have in 7 studies, right? So if one study is doing that, that makes maybe that's outlier, but if it's happening 7 studies continuously, then it's a pattern. That pattern where we are seeing a lot of wasted effort, right? So and we also try to see what are the data changes. So if we are writing queries, we expect it's because there is anomaly in the data, possibly, but not many are leading to data changes, or there is a cluster of forms where the most data changes are occurring. So I'll give you some of the examples in the next slides. But so first question was to look at this data, identify, pull this data, parse this data, curate this data, identify what are the trends, then suggest what can be done to reduce these kind of scenarios going forward. So next one is this is kind of one of the very interesting solutions, I should say. This is one of our early projects as DST. Is there is a manual process to identify the AEs or any medications listed in Sunovion call centers, which we call as Sunovion answers. But we were successfully implemented, almost fairly successfully implemented near human accuracy with machine learning and NER models, where the 4,000 plus calls are being automated, read by machine, and identify what calls have adverse events or medication terms related to our specific products which market with Sunovion markets outside. So which reduces a lot. So manual process is too tedious and very error prone, imagining number of calls and everything. So we'll discuss that. And we also did some of the text mining for our medical affairs people on social media and other online communities to understand our bipolar disorder, which is our primary indication on one of our drugs, and also one of our major drug which is in the market. Also understanding how people are talking, what people are talking, physicians, patients, caregivers, what they are discussing about this drug in the market. That helps medical affairs to plan a lot of things going forward. Then the last one we're going to talk about is ongoing data review catalog, which is basically a catalog of images and visualization outputs, a sample outputs where a team can come and develop their requirements to give it to the programmer, which are consistent across all the studies. And the programmer also knows what is expected uh, before he starts doing anything. So this catalog was built by historically from 10 years of visualization outputs we have done generated. So this was a long pending project we finished recently. So this is also very valuable. I'll explain you how it will work. So next slides, please. So we'll go in a little more detail here. So I've gone through this slide. So what we could do is with operational data, we were able to answer site analytics. We were able to identify sites with higher query rate if there are any query patterns at each site, where there was a query duration at site level, like maybe some sites are taking more time to close queries or more time to answer queries, or sometimes some sites are really closing queries really fast. So even very fast or very late, both are flags. We want to have ample amount of time at the site to understand the query, understand the data, and close them. So too quick is not good, too late is also not good. So we want to understand how they are being doing that. Then we created some dashboards for our data management team to understand what are the top queries occurring in each study. They can be, and they can react or proact depending on next studies. Either they can change the CRF to reduce those queries because some of the queries are just because of CRF designs, or maybe they have to train sites better, or maybe they have to update their completion guidelines better, or maybe sometimes they have to change the site. They don't need to select this site because this site is doing a lot of wrong data entry. So some of those outputs you can see, these are the dashboards which we recently did. See, you can see how many queries posted by each study, then what are the current status of those queries, and what is the number of subjects enrolled in each study, and what are their statuses actually. And then we can see also see some of these durations where you can see a DM posted queries by site, how median duration and mean duration are being there. So you can see some of the sites are very late and some of the sites are very early to do close DM queries. And you can see these are outliers where you say if the KPI for DM queries is 30 days to close, and you can see there are quite a few queries which are outside 30 days, and DM can directly check on these and get the details and act them immediately, which is not possible in Rave directly. You have to get the data from Rave and do these. And this is some of the graphs we generated as a dashboard of top queries, and they can check top 10, 5, 15, whatever they want. So, and how we did it. So what we did is we pulled we pulled data from Rave EDC as an XML files using their API request. Then we used our SageMaker to pass the XMLs and create parkeys and load them into our S3 buckets. Then once the S3 bucket is there, then we use Glue because Glue can use Sparky format and create its own database table in Athena. Athena is AWS data lake, and Sparky format is a format which is compressed file, but it still can be read and parsed. So that way your big data is in a small version which is compressed, but it can be used very efficiently and loads fast. Then when Athena is there, when we use again Amazon SageMaker and write Python scripts to query Athena to get the data. Once we get the data in a common data model, we analyze it and then we publish into visualization using a Spotfire. So again, as you can see here, maybe I should close this. You can see most of the changes, data changes occurred with the query are in a couple of forms. As you can see, 50% changes happen in exposure. So we can clearly understand something is incorrect with exposure. So we can dig more on those data points and understand what is the pattern of data changes, why it's occurring. Maybe it's training issue or maybe it's form issue. And also you can see the rate of queries. So if you look at data management, which is a red and pink line here, you can see the rate has increased towards end of the study. That suggests that there are more queries posted towards end with respect to the data points. So, but we want this line to be more flattened. So if there is more data management or any team should react more actively to minimize those spikes in the study so that the data, more queries, less data, less queries, because that's how it should be. But when you look at this, the data query rate has increased gradually really high towards the end of the study. That suggests that the data is being cleaned late, so that way you're not getting quality data during the study, so which is not good. So we want to act on that. So that is process question for data management, which can they act and react and potentially change their workflows. And next is yeah, next is second one is catalog. So what is the problem was we had this huge database of outputs we have been doing using SAS, R, or some other language, Python, or maybe Spotfire to generate these ongoing data review meetings. Which is ongoing data review meeting is nothing but a blinded review meeting which happens on the data to identify anomalies in the data or identify any specific trends in the data, so the different functional teams can act and minimize data biases or data anomalies towards the end of this data after blinding happens. So everything is unblinded here. Everything is blinded here, but we want to minimize anomalies after the unblinding of the data. So what happened is we had so many outputs because there was no common platform to review these outputs or store these outputs. So what happened is every study group started creating their own subset of outputs. The inefficiencies found in one study are not being propagated to the next study. And whenever the programming resources changes, they have to redo everything because they are not exposed to the other study team which they are doing. So to avoid those things, what we did is we created a catalog which enables medical lead to generate the requirements document. And this catalog is common across all Synovian studies. So that way it will be done everything. So I believe it should work. Yes. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, this is a small GIF file which is showing you how this catalog works. So you can browse it, you can click on it, it will become maximized. Medical lead can look at it, they can filter with specific categories of outputs, and now they have looked everything. Now they want to make some selections what they want to do. That is, they are trying to say these are the outputs I want for this specific study, and now they can, if they want to remove some of the selections, they can do, and they can publish it, and then now they can export it to generate an Excel file with requirements. So this is Excel file which is required. So it is consistent across all the studies. So that way we have very consistent and clear definitions of the document. Now we are going into the next one, which is called we are using identifying the medical events using NER models. So as I said, approximately we receive 4,000 plus calls in Synovian per month. So earlier it was like the patient service is extracted from CRM, then Excel files are generated, then manual search is made, like reading each line of Excel file, and AEs and SSRs are marked, and then further processing was done. So this whole red block, which is manual, we try to replace that with an automation using NER model when we achieve near human accuracy. So what we did was you can identify, because there are two things to problem is when you look at the first call snippet, right? This is not an AE. It is talking about something which says if his father having surgery can control his seizures. So this is seizure. It looks like an AE, but when you look at the context, this is not AE related to the drug what we Synovian markets, or it's not being reported as any relation also towards our drug. So this should not be selected as an AE. But when you look at the second call snippet, this is talking about Latuda, which the drug which we market in the which we market, and this is the snippet is telling about that subject was taking the Latuda and patient was experiencing some of the AEs. So we used a NER model to understand the semantics and context, and identify and extract those adverse events and medication related to the adverse events. So we received almost around 90% accuracy on these. So that reduces a lot of work actually for PVRMT. And we extended that similar concept to our social media. So we got I think 10,000 lines of Excel file every quarter. I mean, we did for once, I believe, that is 10,000 lines, where the challenge was to identify what drug this post in social media was referring to, and if that post had any adverse events or not. So we use Medical Comprehend, which is AWS solution of NER model, and it was able to identify the generic terms, medication names, adverse events, and we reduced focus of PVRM from 10,000 lines to only 3,000 lines. So it's almost one third of the work was done automatically by NER models, and then PVRM was able to take over from there. And we are still working on these tools to make more automation and get more high accuracy. That work is under progress right now as we speak. And this is the last project. So this is text mining. This is Bowen's project actually. So text mining and content analysis of online social media. The problem here was we are trying to provide knowledge of people. The people, I mean, say physicians, caregivers, or patients for themselves, how they feel, how what they feel, or what they discuss in social media or public platforms about bipolar disorder or Latuda, which is a primary marketed drug. And we can also understand what the concerns they have with our drug or concerns they have with bipolar disorder or the impressions they have. And if that information can be suggested with to medical affairs, they can create their better material for marketing or training to the physicians, more targeted actually. So what we did for that was we extracted all the data, and then we used a LDA model to create these clusters. And these clusters talk about similar concepts in the social media data. And whenever you create clusters, we allow them to show what are the top topics or words they are being discussed in each cluster, right? So that allows them to search in the here what, like if the example receptor. So receptor is being discussed in cluster one a lot. So they'll select the receptor. Once they search on receptor, then the search results will pop up highlighting the medication and any medical treatment or medication being used here in those top search results where that specific term was present. That way they understand the context of the link or the post in better way. Once they do it, then we take an extension to it, and we understood, we extracted all the questions in the post, and we used Google's universal sentence encoder to identify the similar questions what are being discussed. Example, one of them is grapefruit. Why we avoid grapefruit or grapefruit juice while taking Latuda? This question was asked in different ways. And this is the most occurring question, as you can see in the square in the heat diagram. You can see the darker the square is, that is what the bigger question was. So the bigger question was, one of the most occurring question was why grapefruit juice should be avoided. So that is my 25 minutes of presentation on our tools. So, and that ends my presentation. And I can take any questions if you have.